Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Passion Point. My name is Caren Glasser, and this is the show where we follow passionistas from around the world who are following their passion, making a living, doing what they love. And today I am so delighted to have our guest on, Jackie VanCampen. She is the author of several books, including Letters to My Daughter and Wise Heart Archetypes. She's an intuitive coach for writers, a Wise Heart transformational writer, and founder of Wise Heart Within, which serves to support and facilitate healing and transformation in every area of your life. She was the host of the online radio show, The Writer's Divine Den, on positive living vibrations, which served to inspire and offer information to writers on their writing journey. Jackie has also been featured on various tele-summits and interviews, and we are excited because she's here with us today. Welcome, Jackie. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be doing this.
Well, I am super excited to have you, and I know we've had a couple of false starts in getting you into the world of technology, and welcome. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm sure it's going to be very well worth the wait. And today, as we're talking about passion, I'd like to just kick it off by giving a Webster Dictionary definition. I do this every time we have a show. I just find it very interesting that it's so boring, actually. So what Webster says is that passion is an intense, driving, or overmastering feeling or conviction. What does Jackie say passion is?
Passion to me is about connecting with your heart and following that impulse of being able to, it's almost like being able to connect with your intuitive side, which really comes from your heart space, and being so moved by it that you can't help but take action on that feeling.
That's awesome, and I know that you have had quite the journey, and as the journey continues, you become more, and I use the word as we were talking earlier, impassioned about something. And so, why don't you share your story? Where did you start? Did you wake up one day when you were 5 years old and said, "I'm going to do this"? When did your journey start, and what road did it take?
Yes, so my journey, and I call my journey really, we can go all the way back from being a little kid to when, I believe that passion actually started rising within us. And I remember I was about 24. I had just had my first child, and I was in this terrible relationship, marriage. And what I realized from that is that I was looking outside of myself everywhere in different relationships, and my parents, my ex-husband, well, my husband at the time, to fulfill some kind of gap that was going on within my heart, and feeling that, I wasn't deserving of love, that I wasn't good enough, and somehow I needed that validation from other people to feel worthy and to feel like there is a purpose for me being here. So it's not like I woke up one morning and had this realization, but it really came right after my daughter was born. I started to notice my environment, and when I was living in this very chaotic environment, and I decided, okay, you know what? I really can't raise a daughter in this kind of environment. I don't want her to think that this is how a relationship should look like. And so she was really my awakening moment. And I realized that I had been misplacing my happiness and putting it all out there for other people to make me happy, or I needed to be somebody else to make everybody else happy. And when I had this realization of happiness is my responsibility, then everything in my life changed. So I got a divorce a year later and began this journey, what I call my journey of self-love. And it was really about me learning how to love myself and empower myself to discover what my dreams and passions were. And then once I was able to get to that point where I felt, okay, I am complete, I am whole, I don't necessarily need a man in my life to make me happy, I can be happy on my own, then having that relationship in my life was more of a compliment to me than something that was going to fulfill a gap that was missing. And so my husband came into my life, about 2 years later, and we've been married for almost 13 years now. But it has really taken me into this journey of discovering who I am, discovering my passions and my gifts, and being able to give that story back into the world, and to say, okay, you know what? I went through all of this there's a lot of stuff that happened even before that, but I went
Right.
through all of these different things, not in vain. You know, I can either sit here and be miserable and be a victim of my circumstances, or I
Uh-huh.
can take everything that happened and I can create, I can create this passion out of my circumstances and be like, wow, okay, so yeah, I went through all of this. So how can I take all of these stories, all of these things that happened to me, and empower myself so that I can live the most fulfilling life I could ever possibly live, while being an encouragement and hope and inspiration to other people.
I love that. I love the story, and I love where your journey has taken you. And you mentioned about not being worthy or not good enough, and that's a common theme. Would you not agree? I mean,
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
Yes.
and we all think it's unique to us, right?
Yes, very.
So how do you work with people like that? So, I mean, because you yourself felt it, I felt it for sure. And I'm sure the people you talk to, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not happiness. I mean, that's like the elusive thing that we're never going to have is happiness. So how do you help people? How do you help them then find their passion?
Well, I'm a writer, and so my big thing is I love to help people find that joy or find that happiness within by using the gift of writing. And I'm also an intuitive, so I combine my gift of intuition, meaning, when I'm talking about intuitive, like I'm really going into somebody's energetic field and I'm looking at, what's blocking them. And so I take that gift that I have plus my ability to write, and I help people really discover what it is that they're passionate about through the process of writing, which to me, it's kind of like journaling, but we go a little deeper and you have that accountability. You have somebody asking you the right questions, to help you dig deep. And so you're not feeling alone in that journey, in that process of going within yourself, because it can be kind of scary. And I think a lot of people avoid doing it because once they're there, then how are they going to get out?
Exactly. And as you said, you yourself are a writer. You have several books out. What is Letters to My Daughter about, or is it pretty self-explanatory?
So yes, Letters to My Daughter, which I actually have it right here. It's a book that I wrote to, at that time, my daughter was, so I have three daughters. My oldest one, 13, 17 now. She's from my first marriage. And at the time, she was going through just a lot of stuff. Her father wanted to move back. He's from Brazil, and he wanted to move back to Brazil. And he had been trying to convince her to go with him. And in addition to that, she was just having a lot of, just peer pressure, friends, and all that kind of stuff happening all at the same time. And for me, I knew that I wanted to write a book. I was inspired to share my story, my message of going within yourself and finding that heart wisdom. I just didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. So I put it out into the universe. And sure enough, I ended up having people come into my life to teach me how to write a book. I ended up hiring a book coach, and she helped me pull the stories out. And so what happened at that time, as my daughter is going through all of these different things, my book coach came up to me and she said, okay, Jackie, I really think your daughter is the one who really needs your message right now. So why don't you write a book to her? So
Wow.
the book became, each chapter starts with a letter to her based on what the situation that she's going through. And then I go into some circumstances, some story that happened in my childhood or my adulthood, whatever it was, that relates to that. And then it ends with the breakthrough that I had, going into my heart and listening to whatever that wisdom was. So whether the wisdom was, you are worthy, or you have a purpose, or you have a light to shine. It touches on all those different things that us human beings tend to struggle with and believe about ourselves.
Wow. Well, the congratulations on
Thank you.
doing that book. And I know you have a second book out, which is called The Wise Heart Archetypes, The 7 Levels of Awakening the Wisdom Within. And what does that mean exactly? What's a wise heart archetype, and what does that mean?
So that's an ebook, and that came through. It was during the time when I was doing a lot of channeling work, because I was telling you I'm an intuitive. So I would sit down and I would basically meditate, and I would ask these questions of how can I integrate my body with my heart or my mind, because I think that we have to work with both our bodies, because obviously we're experiencing this human life because we have a body. but how can I integrate the both of them, my heart and my mind and my body? And I began to channel these different messages, and I began to look at the chakra system, and whatever the chakra system, so of course we have the root chakra, we have the sacral chakra. So each chakra represented something. And I began to assign names to each of those chakras. And then I began to channel a message for each to activate those chakras. So when people are able to read so it comes with the story, it comes with an activation, and it comes with what that each chakra represents. And then I also did an audio to help people, as they can just meditate and listen to the audio, and they can help activate that particular chakra. So if they're struggling, let's say, with their creativity, sometimes it could be something with their throat, or it could be something with their sacral chakra. So it helps, start moving some energy through their body.
That's cool. And I want to tell our viewers that you have been very generous. You have a copy of the ebook, a complimentary copy, on your website that they can go and get that copy. So the name of your website is?
wiseheartwithin.com.
Perfect. And you can see it went right on there on the screen on the lower third. Very, very interesting what you're talking about. And I know that you are impassioned about some new things as well. Why don't we talk a little bit about what you're diving into right now? What is floating your boat right now, Jackie?
Oh my gosh, so much. But right now I'm really impassioned about helping people share their message. We all have a story to share, and we all have something that we have been able to overcome. And, we hear so much of what's going on in the world, and people there's shootings, and there's wars, and there's so much happening. I think it's like we are so isolated and away from each other, and we are so disconnected, from humanity, or from, like when we disconnect from ourselves, we're really disconnecting from other people. And so, I have this mission now that I'm feeling called to really work on, and it's called Share Your Story. So I'm creating a campaign out of this, and it's really to help. I really want to invite people to share their message. So if they have something that they have been able to overcome, to really post it on social media, write a book, talk to a friend. You'll see how many people actually have either been through the same thing that you've been through, or they really need to hear that if they're in that situation where they're feeling kind of desperate, and if you can share your story with them, all of a sudden they feel like, oh wow, there's hope. I'm not the only one going through this particular kind of struggle. I can do this. I can move through this. This too shall pass, kind of thing.
Jackie, would you call it like a human condition for us to feel this way, that we're so alone, or is it a woman condition that we think that it's just us?
I think it's a human condition. I think it really is. I mean, most wars are started, I have to say, by men. So, it kind of shows that we are very disconnected from each other. And I think it's so funny that you brought up women, because I look at women, and I'm really learning to love every facet of a woman, from her body to, what she brings to the table, to motherhood, to all of that. And what I'm seeing a lot of is that we're still live in a very patriarchal society. Even though, here in the US, women have the ability to go to school, we can get college degrees, we can get a job. But if we were to really look at it, we're still very competitive. We still live in that very masculine energy, trying to compete with men. And then what happens is we disconnect from that feminine energy, that it's our intuition, that it's our creativity and our passion. And I think it also impacts our relationship with other women. And so all of a sudden we're in competition with ourselves. We are talking bad about ourselves. We're gossiping. We're creating this harmony, really, which impacts not just our relationship with immediate people in our lives, but also impacts our relationship with ourselves and with our community. I mean, like, here's an example. And this is for myself. Like, I used to think, oh, I don't want to. I'm just not one of those people who hang out with moms at the school. I just felt like I couldn't relate, right? I'm like, oh no, I'm an entrepreneur, or at the time when I had a job, like, no, I have a career, and I just couldn't quite relate. And it was my own judgment of well, they're not going to get me, so I don't get them. And so now that I'm hanging out with more moms from the school, the other day we had a play date with my kids, and I was talking to this other mom, and I just decided to be very open and just started sharing my story with her, different things that happened in my life. And all of a sudden, we realized we have all these things in common, like all these different things that happened to me happened to her. And now it turned out, I mean, she ended up buying my book and read my book, and now she's really high in the PTA for the whole school district. And she said, I want to invite you to come and give a talk. And I'm thinking, okay, so my judgment stopped me in the past from being able to really connect with other people. So,
and I think we all do that. We all do that. And that even though I'm sounding very general right now, I think every one of us is guilty at one point in our life, or multiple points in our life, where we make assumptions, and because of those assumptions and because of those feelings, that we literally put ourselves out of the running for some opportunities, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, very much. And I sense that a book might be coming out of you for this sharing your story.
Is I'm that laughing because I'm like, yes.
I was going to say that's got to be on the drawing. And that's going to be a fascinating book. I have to believe that, just as like you were saying, that when you tell your story and you realize, oh my gosh, my story is very similar to that person's story. Maybe the names have been changed to protect the innocent, but it's the same story. So I think that is very, very interesting. I don't know about you, but I love quotes. I need a good quote in the morning to get me going, and I like to R&D, rob and duplicate. I go in and I find great Pinterest pictures, or all over Facebook or Instagram, or I'll create my own. And today's quote that I'd like to share with you, it's from Anonymous. We don't know who wrote this. Passion and purpose go hand in hand. When you discover your purpose, you will normally find it's something you're tremendously passionate about. What do you think? Does that make sense?
Love it. Yes, absolutely.
Do you have a favorite quote?
I have, I'm always looking for quotes. I'm always going on Google, and so I'm trying to think of one that really resonates with me, but there's one that I used to read all the time by Daisaku Ikeda. And he says, and I'm going to generalize the quote because I don't remember word for word, but he says, the moment you begin to change, or the moment, it's something about like the moment you begin to change your determination, everything else begins to change. So when you say yes and you're on purpose, then the cells of your body will inflate and begin to help you move forward in that direction. But the moment you become afraid and you shut down, the cells of your body start to deflate, and then you will end up in defeat. And for some reason, I remember reading this over and over and over again.
So, I mean, so I actually would be, you either live in the blue ocean of abundance, right? Or the red sea of scarcity. Where your mind goes is where you stay.
Exactly.
Exactly. What are you reading these days? What's on your nightstand or your reading list?
I'm currently reading, it's called Game of Life, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scoven-Shin. And this is, I think she wrote this book back in the 1940s or 50s, if I'm not wrong. But it's about metaphysics. But she takes a lot of different quotes from different Bible passages, and she makes it very metaphysical, and how we can use these different words to empower ourselves. Like as we speak, so we create for in our lives. And I'm just fascinated with it. So it's called The Game of Life and How to Play, and it's the complete works of Florence Scovel-Shin.
Great. Well, hopefully our viewers, because we're always wondering what the next great book or something, and obviously it's been around for quite a while, so it's not the next great book, but they can go and find the book and be as much empowered by it as you are. So this next question is going to sound a little bit strange, I think. If you could spread passion dust on anyone in the world, anywhere in the world, who would you spread it on, and what would you hope to accomplish?
Wow. If I could spread passion dust anywhere in the world, I would have to say the first thing that came to my mind would be world leaders, because obviously they're the ones making decisions right now. And so I would definitely spread it on them. And I would hope that by them awakening to their passion or their greatness, that they would see that they have a huge influence on what happens to human beings. So for them to have more wisdom when they make their choices.
Well, it's interesting. You brought up that, all the wars have been sort of started by men. And I've often had this conversation with people that if women ruled the world, or more women ruled the world, before we went to war, we would probably say, let's go meet up at Disneyland, or let's go have a social engagement so that we can get to know each other and realize that we are people. It's not just nameless, faceless individuals that end up suffering, dead, killed in a war. If I know you and I have been with you and have a relationship with you, I think I'm going to be a little less trigger happy, right, to go to war. What do you feel about that?
I absolutely agree. I think dialogue is such an essential piece of the way we relate to each other. And when we can have that dialogue, like I was sharing with the mom, and I opened up my story to her, come to find out she has a lot of different things. So when we're able to let go of how, this belief that if I share who I am, that people are going to judge me, therefore I'm not going to open up. We realize that we have so much more in common with other people. So I believe that when we start having dialogue with other people, we see them for who they are. We see their humanity. We see that they have a story, that they have a family, that they have people who love them just how they love, their family. So it would be very difficult to pull the trigger knowing that, you are in that other person.
Exactly. Well, it's good to hear that you have the same ideas and the same thoughts. And when I bring this up, I seem to get that same, and it's not that I'm a feminist. It's not that it's girl power or woman power. It's communication, it's relationship power. And women just tend to do it a little bit better as a generality. I know I'm going to get static for this. Keep those letters coming. So just to be clear, I am an equal opportunity lover of men and women. I think we're all awesome. I just think that there tends to be more of a relationship building gene in women that we just have. And, as I said, I'm sure I'm going to hear about this. So
I'll give a little prop to men, because I think that there is a different dynamic when men and women do work together. There are different things that come out of both men and women that I think are very positive. Yes. But I think you're right. I mean, like, women do have the tendency to be more engaging with each other than men usually do.
Exactly. So, Jackie, I mean, you're very generous. You're gonna give everyone a download of your ebook on your website, which is very, very cool. I want to thank you for that. And you're also giving away to the first 5 people that communicate to you via email, and we'll put your email down in the run sheet. You're offering a 30-minute write your story discovery session to the first 5 people that get in touch with you. And I really encourage our viewers and our listeners to take advantage of this. We have so many amazing people that come on the show, and they're there for you. So please take advantage of this. Are there any last thoughts or comments that you'd like to share with our viewers before we say goodbye?
Yes. So thank you so much for having me on your show and for your viewers. And I just want to say that, I'm very impassioned about having people really share their story. So I want to encourage everyone to remember your greatness, to remember that you're here for a purpose, that your life really matters. And even when you're feeling, that your life has no purpose, or you're feeling, sad or down, or things are not working out for you, you lost your job, or you lost whatever that is, that you're loved, that you're not going through this because no one loves you. It's probably because there's something better in the horizon. So just believe that there is a universe, there is a God, there is a purpose for you here. So
that's beautiful.
That's what I want to share.
That's beautiful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I want to thank our viewers, our listeners. We know that you have a choice as to how to spend your time. And I want to thank you. Jackie and I both thank you for taking the time to spend it with us today. So as we say every single week, Have an awesome day. Go out and give someone else an awesome day. And we will see you next time on the next episode of The Passion Point. See you next time. Goodbye, everyone.